You join me at Farriers Lake in the Cotwolds. I've been invited here by the Carp Society.
There's a large gathering of fish out here. There's just too many fish, I've just got to get a rig in amongst them. God, it's literally black with them. Can't cast out, there's just too many fish there. Well, tough couple of nights, and things were looking ominously bad, to be honest. Right, I've got to go.
Planned this session quite meticulously around the moon phase. I've caught so many of my biggest fish on the actual full moon, on the night.
Well, we are absolutely turbo having it. 0 to 0. This is the exact reason we've come to Farriers Fishery. A 40 pound, 4 ounce common. I can't believe it. Oh mate, that's another 30. That is ridiculous. Liner.
You join me at Farriers Lake in the Cotwolds. I've been invited here by the Carp Society to film Mainline baits, Carp Project. Peg 5 has been an absolute flyer in recent weeks. We came round here, the swim was empty, there's a few fish about. I've done a quick lap, just to see what else I might be missing. Didn't see fish anywhere else, and apparently this swim is at its best when it gets hot, and that's exactly the way the weather's going. Well, just on a second lap, I've not seen any fish. The wind is absolutely freezing, and all the fish that we did see were on the back of the wind in swim 5 where I was. Let's get on with it.
Well, there's still quite a few fish about, and I was planning on just freestyling the rigs out. You can see the clear spots, you can see the weed, and the bottom appears to be bald gravel. But when using really fine sharpened hooks, taking them down to literally nothing, if I miscast and have to reel that rig in, there's a really good chance of burring the hook over. So the plan is, while the sun's out, make just a couple of casts with a bare lead on my marker rod. So I know where the lead's going to land. I get a clip, I can predict where the lead's going to land, and once I'm happy with that, I can make the cast exactly the same with my fishing rods, and that means I won't have to retrieve the hook across the bottom, and everything should be nice and fresh. So without further ado, there's no fish there at the moment. Be a good time to make a cast. it is bare gravel. Just try that. It's really clear that. I think I can take a metre on that. Right, that is just absolutely bald gravel. Perfect, right. Get that in, get it around the sticks, and get a rig out there. Right, it looks like the coast is clear. Let's get it out there while the light's good. That's it, that's good, that's good. Right, one on the money, let's do the other. Right, second rod, a little bit further out, 15 wraps. There's clear bit, a little bit deeper. Looks like a good area for the night. It's good. But I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Look at that. All right, we're all ready for a second attempt. Rubbish. Rubbish. Right, take 3. Nope. No, 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 no. Should have left the first one, as always. Right. Take 501. Might seem like I'm flapping about a bit, but when you're fishing in tiny holes in the weed and sitting behind rods for hours and hours on end, it's got to be exactly right. That's it. That was a good one. Line lay's gross, man. It's always going to be like that. Right, The rods haven't produced any fish out here, but there's a large gathering of fish out here. I would plumb it normally, but there's just too many fish. I've just got to get a rig in amongst them. In fact, there's too many to even make the cast right now. Wait a second. God, it's literally black with them. Oh my God. It's about 10 of them sat where I want to cast. Right, here goes. Here goes. Oh, no, 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 no. Can't cast out, there's just too many fish there. Right, let's go for it. Here goes nothing. That'll do.
So after casting the left-hand rod to where the bulk of the fish were, I didn't catapult any bait around it because it was really shallow out there. The birds would have been an absolute nightmare. There were swans loitering around and I thought the single could just be out there amongst them and might possibly just pick one off. While I left that one fishing, I decided to get the spom out on the longer rod. I put out a mixture of 10 and 15mm cell, not loads, maybe 9 or 10 spoms out there. 3 of them were really tight and a few were a little wide, but it's quite a big spot. It's a little deeper out there. I think that's a night spot or an early morning spot. I don't think it's a daytime area that. I think the other area on the shallow ground is more of a daytime area, and just as it got dark I put a little bit of bait over the top of that. I couldn't quite reach with the 10s, so I put the 15s round there, and yeah, it all looks good really, more or less. There's fish in the area. I'm definitely on clear ground, so I should be presented. It's just a case of if it's the right spot. If through the night I haven't caught anything by morning, I think the fish will tell me where I need to be.
It's the morning after the first night and very little to report. Loads of fish in the swim yesterday afternoon, especially in the evening, you know, more and more sort of fish arrived. But no bleeps, didn't hear any fish jumping in the night, and woke up this morning and I've seen next to nothing. I've seen a couple of fish push through the weed in different areas, one out near the longer spot and one out a little bit further than the left-hand rod. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why I didn't catch. You know, there was enough fish around, especially in the left-hand rod, to think that I probably should have done. I never plumbed that rod, I just freestyled it out in amongst the fish. You can see the bottom's clear, you can see it's gravelly. And I just thought I'd done enough to get a take, but with the sun like this, pretty warm, it's due to get warmer in the coming days as well. This area apparently is at its best when it's really hot, so I'm anticipating fish arriving. I think I need to be a little bit more maybe meticulous with the actual rig placement. Yeah, I don't know exactly where I should put it, but there was a few fish yesterday evening around the back of that big clear area, sort of skirting the edge of the weed. It looks like a natural sort of place where fish would pass over your rig, so I'll have a look at that a little bit later. I'm gonna give the rods until about 10:30, 11 o'clock. You know, you quite often catch fish late morning, that sort of time. I don't want to be reeling it out of their mouths as such. But yeah, it's the pressure's on, you know, the first night's gone by and before you know it, the end of the session's looming. So I'm still fairly confident. There was enough fish in the area yesterday to make me believe that there's going to be more today. I just need to fine tune it and get everything just right.
Wasn't on the clear. Been moved, I reckon.
Once bite time had passed, I felt it was a good time to reel in the rods and go for a little look around. Not just to clear my head a little and avoid any frustration, but to also have a little lead around in the swims opposite, just to check I wasn't missing any piece of the puzzle. There was no anglers in this area and I wasn't disturbing anybody, and when this is the case, it's always nice to investigate these areas and build up a picture of the lake.
Well, the rods have been out of the water about an hour. I left them in till about 11 o'clock this morning, and other than sort of, I had a bit of a, I don't know, an occurrence. It was either a liner or an aborted take. It was about 7:30, 8 o'clock. The bobbin sort of shot up, a few bleeps, and then immediately afterwards, the fish sort of lifted up over off the bottom and rose over the weed beds. And you know, I don't know if it was a liner or an aborted take, but what I do think in sort of hindsight is that fish was eating at bite time on my patch, and I just didn't convert. And it took this little bit of time away from the swim to sort of to let that sink in. You know, I wanted to have a little bit break, you know, rest the swim a bit, and go for a wander. Also, just been for a few casts with leading rod, because over the course of the morning and yesterday evening, I've seen a fair few fish, not loads, but a few fish beyond the weedy areas, like all the surface weed, in front of a swim on the opposite side near the car park. And I'm glad that I've done that, because it's ruled it out for me. There is a couple of clear bits out there, but there isn't sort of what I would say hero spots out there, nothing that's jumping out and grabbing me. And the amount of fish that were in this swim yesterday, the occurrence that I had, I've seen fish from the other side when I've been plumbing back over here as well, so I know there's still fish here. I just think I need to be a bit more meticulous, a bit more accurate with my fishing than I was last night, you know. The fish that I saw over that big clear area, there were so many of them. I just wanted to get the rod in, fire a few boilies round, and I just don't think it's enough to stop one in its tracks and get it to sort of drop down on the rig. So what my plan is now is to be more accurate with the baiting. Not loads of bait, but put the rig out there and keep the baiting tight and force those fish down onto the spots.
With the rods clipped up, I then put together a simple bait mix, some 10mm cell plus some sweet corn and a nice coating of Cell Smart liquid over the top to further boost the attraction. So nothing too complicated, and it was probably going to be more important to get it exactly on the right spot. With the spots being pretty small, baiting accuracy had perhaps been the reason why I'd not caught yet. So I needed to be fully focused on just taking my time and making sure all of the spoms hit the clip and landing on the money every time. Sometimes it's the tiniest of percentages, and doing the fundamentals well that make all the difference. With the baiting done, I set about tying some fresh rigs. Again, not rushing and doing everything to the absolute best of my ability.
Well, the baiting couldn't have gone any better. It's gone really, really nice. Just got to make sure that I get this perfect now. Wind's perfect. Straight off our backs, no excuses. Yeah, that's a 10. That's a 10.
Very, very happy with that one. One of two down, one to go.
Well, had a little plum up earlier on a spot further round to the left, and I can't cast out and then bait up over the top because of the weeds. You know, the weeds will could get caught in the spot and retrieve. So I'm going to bait up first, just 3 spombs, and then hopefully get the rig nice and tight over the top. Nice, it was good, that one. Couple more. Oh, right on the fish's head. That wasn't ideal. Literally right on a fish's head. You wouldn't think that you put a, oh, cut the spombs out, and next minute there's a carp there. Right, this is rod number 2. Baiting up's done, just need to get the rig on the money, and it is a small spot. Come on. Bingo! That was a bullseye. That was a total bullseye. That was a 10. That was a 10. That was a 10. That was a 10. So, it's the end of the second day, or the first full day. And still no carp to report. Had a bit of a walk around today, done a little bit of leading, but ultimately the bulk of the fish that I've seen are in the swims water that I was already fishing. You know, it's an absolute football pitch out there, and it's super shallow, super weedy. The fish are just sort of bow waving around with their backs out most of the day. But I've been a bit more meticulous with my rods. The right-hand rod is sort of a known hot area in the swim. I spoke to numerous people walking around today that have said that that spot has really produced some fish in the recent weeks, and I've definitely on it. I've got a really good drop on it. My baiting went super accurate, so I don't think I can do too much better with that one. You know, it is what it is. The line lay is absolutely awful. It's running across the top of weed beds, and as the wind sort of changes direction, the line's getting slacker and tighter, which never fills you with too much confidence, but I'm doing the best I can with that. I might have to recast it in the morning, we'll see. But the left-hand rod is on a new spot. It's sort of down the left-hand margin in a smaller hole in the weed. And there's so many fish in this sort of shallow zone, and the bay to my left, they say there's 200 carp in Farriers, and there's a good proportion of them in my water. I wouldn't change my swim for any other around the lake, and I feel like I'm getting that bit closer to a bite. You know, it's difficult to start with until you've had that first success and you know you're doing it right. You know, when you catch one, you just press repeat and you catch another one, and I'm sure once I do, I'll get another one probably. But until you get that confirmation that you're doing it right, you're always doubting everything. But I'm fishing to the best of my ability at this stage, and yeah, it's up to them now. I've done the best I can, and fingers crossed for one of these Farriers lovely big carp. 2 nights in and no carp to report, unfortunately. And usually I would like to say that's because I've not been on them, but in the afternoons have really been strong in this area, loads and loads of fish. You can't really see much at the moment, you know, it looks really quiet. And I'm just basing what I'm going to do based on what I've seen, you know. I've seen loads of fish in the afternoons and I've been getting right into this bay to my left and I've not really been making the most of it. And sometimes in fishing you need a little bit of luck. And I was casting down there looking for a spot and I just so happened to have a clip on my reel. I couldn't even tell you what clip it was. And it sort of touched the clip as it touched the water. I thumped down, a really nice bang. And I've had a couple more pulls back. And it feels a little bit deeper, and it is gravel, but it's small. It's going to require quite a tidy cast to get it in there over some bait. But just looking at where it is in relation to where the fish have been coming into this swim, it looks really, really good. I'm hoping, now I'm going to put the float on it, I'm hoping it's going to be deep enough. So yeah, fingers crossed it's deeper than swan depth. I'll just step forward to allow it up. Right. It's about 3.5, 4. The swans can get me there. Try it again. 1, 2. Oh, it's in weed now. To recast it. Bomb. 1, 2, 3, 'll say it's 4 plus the float. It might be all right. Try it there. So I put the marker float up from the swim. Rather than spom it up, I've come round to the back of this bay. It's only about 20 yards out of the float. I've reeled the rods in and just going to catapult a few pouch shawls of these 10mm cell over the top, nice and accurately. That was a bullseye. Oh, a little bit long on that one. All baited, all lovely. Let's get the rods out.
You may think that by now I'm being a little over the top. I tie fresh rigs and sharpen my hooks before every single cast, and I make sure that I get the drop that I'm looking for. Experience has taught me that being ultra meticulous and presenting your rods well will bring the results in the end. Building upon each stage of this process, plus a stroke of luck with the line in the line clip on the mark rod, has now located a new spot at the back of the bay. It was now beginning to feel like my first bite couldn't be far away, and it wasn't long before this was proved to be the case.
This rod has not been out very long at all. I said it felt like a nice spot, and it was in the right area. It's gone more or less straight away over those 10mm cells with the Smart Liquid. it's gone absolutely solid. I'm going to take the net and go after it.
Wading down towards the fish did two things. Firstly, it took me out of radio mic distance, so unfortunately you couldn't hear what I was saying. Secondly, it meant that I could apply steady pressure through the rod rather than over pulling on the hook hold from the bank and potentially pulling the hook. With the odd hairy moment, this method worked a treat, and eventually my first farrier's carp was in the net.
But it turns out that I waded so far out to get him that I went out of radio distance. So you missed everything that I just said, but epic battle out there in the weed, and the result is a very rare farrier's mirror. Not a big one, but there's quite a few fish about. As I was playing it and as I've been wading about, they were passing me out there, and some good fish too. So that's absolutely awesome. First one's always the hardest, and now we've got something to build with, something to work with, a spot that we're happy with, a spot that we can get some more bait going on, and a spot that hopefully will produce us one of these. I want one or two more of these farrier's carp. Well, it's a good job that it's really shallow, because there's no way I'd have got that in if I couldn't have waded all the way out there. Oh mate, buzzing. Not a monster, but a start, good start. So look him in the net. $22.12. It's good. Well, a tough couple of nights, and things were looking ominously bad, to be honest, but a little change of tactics, change of spot, and I'd seen a few fish at the end of the bay yesterday, and a bit of plumbing this morning, and a bit of accurate baiting from round at the end of the bay has produced this lovely 22 pounder, and you always need somewhere to start. So a 22 isn't a big fish, but I'm hoping there's more to come yet. Right, that's it, fresh rig, all ready to go, super simple. I'm going to get it back on the spot and I'll show you exactly what that is. Yeah, that was a good one, a good one. Well, I was going to show you that rig, but as soon as I got the rig back in the water, then it's away again, and I'm probably going to have to go down there after it. It's actually coming through the channel where I waded through the weed bed of its own accord at the minute, while I'm still gaining. I just keep pulling. Right, I've got to go, I've got to go. Well, I was told the mirrors were near were ultra rare, and it's mostly commons, and would you believe it, 2 in a row are both mirrors. Similar sort of size fish, maybe a little bit bigger. But that spot is absolutely rocking. Hindsight in carp fishing is a wonderful thing, and I'm sat here now thinking the last 2 days there's been loads of fish over there, and I've not been on that spot. What have I missed? Here we go. Oh, maybe not. Here we go. He's looking like he's ready to meet the net. Come on in. Yes! Happy days. We'll take that. Nice little zone this. Well, that didn't take long at all. Recast, rebaited, and was just about to show you that rig
and the same rod is off straight away. You know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I can't help but think, what have I missed last night? You know, God only knows what I could have caught in the previous 2 days. But it's a good sign. There's fish around, the wind's blowing into that bay. Let's get this one back. Let's get the rod back out there and see if we can get a couple more. So, I've had a little play around with the rigs for this session. Started off using a multi-rig with a really stiff boom, like really 25 pound fluorocarbon section on a leg clip. And the reason I started with that is because I've been using it in my personal fishing at Wellington Country Park. But in hindsight, you know, it's more suited to the perfect gravel spot that you know is absolutely crystal clear on the bottom. And even so, even at Welly, I've been fishing it on a leg core leader, helicopter style. And because here at Farriers you're not allowed leg core, and you're fishing with a leg clip presentation with a really stiff boom like that, unless you're 1000% certain that the bottom is absolutely perfect, there is potential for that to be sort of propped up against a stone or a rock on the bottom. So after sort of 24 hours of using that rig, I sort of thought about it a little bit and thought, yeah, I can't guarantee, you know, I'm moving spots quite frequently until I catch something. I'm obviously plumbing them, and I'm making sure I get a good drop and whatnot, but you still got to be really confident, and I wasn't confident enough to fish that really stiff boom on a leg clip on the spots that I was finding. So I made a slight change, and again, you know, I'm fishing on clean bottom, and I've gone for a pure braid presentation. A lot of people these days tend not to fish like this, and that's another reason why I've liked to go back to it. You can nestle over sort of any low-lying weed. You know, if you look in between this surface weed, when there isn't surface weed and you go on the bottom, it's more like moss type weed. You know, having been out there for the 2 fish and walked out there and had a look, in between the patches of gravel is some really, really low-lying mossy weed, and this will just sit absolutely perfectly on top of that. And it's free moving, very natural, and sort of flies into the fish's mouth with sort of no resistance. A very, yeah, natural, free moving presentation. I've got a tiny piece of foam. You know, you could use half a pop-up or half a 10mm pop-up or a little 10mm pop-up on there, but I just haven't got any of them with me, so I've gone with a tiny little piece of 8mm foam. Just a sight tipper, you know, if you're fishing a few boilies on the spot, just something to catch their eye so they don't have to eat every single boilie before they get to your hook bait. And I've got a 15mm cell there. The actual hook arrangement, normally I would just fish a size 6 wide gape, knotless knot style, but in recent times I've been messing around with short, like shrink tube extensions on the shank, fish liner style. I've been fishing out on my multi-rigs at Welly, and I'm definitely finding I'm getting more consistent hook holds. I'm not saying I'm landing any more than I used to, because I used to land a lot of fish how I used to fish it, but the hook holds could be quite random, and I found just by adding that short piece, I don't know, it's probably extending the shank by about 8mm, the liner bit there, and I just find I'm getting more consistent bottom lip hook holds. Not really deep, they're not right on the edge, they're just behind the hard bit, and they're getting really good purchase. You know, you've seen so far I'm fishing in really, really thick weed, and obviously barbless hooks as well, and you've got to be certain that you've got a good hold. You know, when you're going to be pulling harder than you maybe necessarily want to, you've got to be certain that you're going to get those fish in. One thing worth bearing in mind, if you are going to try a braided presentation like I've got here, you know, if you're fishing with a rig, what's that, 7 to 8 inches long, let's call it 7.5 inches, and I wouldn't recommend that you use a bait any smaller than that, because braid and small baits is a recipe for a tangle. So a 15mm with a topper like that or bigger is absolutely perfect. And again, when you're going to fish braid, your anti-tangle system has to be perfect. You know, some people obviously here at Farriers, you can't use leg core, like to use leg core leader, and I find braid can tend to hook up around the back of the tail rubber here when you do fish like that. It's just anti-tangle tubing, as it's called. You know, this is the dark matter version of, is better for using braided hook links. It's definitely more anti-tangle preventing, you know. So that's my rig for this session. Very, very, very simple, but as you've seen, it's certainly working. What a difference a day makes, eh? 2 nights in, it was all looking pretty grim, but I feel a bit better now, a little bit more confident, having caught 2, you know, just getting that those first 2 bites, you know, having confidence to then recast and then expect another one, you know. There's not as many fish around this evening, especially in that area of the lake. I'm not sure if the catching the fish has scared them off, but I don't think it's that, to be honest. I think that there's just less carp in this part of the lake today. There's more carp out to the right, and because of that and what I've seen, I've moved the rod off the spot straight in front that was at 15 wraps. I've moved it to the right at 9.5. There's a hole in the weed bed out there. There's been a lot of fish sort of hanging around it, so I've put it on the near edge of the hole, so I'm just over the weed, just into the clearing, and I've baited with 15mm boilies with a catapult over the top. Yeah, still 24 hours to go, and I'm just not sure what's going to happen. You know, I don't know the lake very well, and it's one of the things, you know, you come to a lake filming that you don't really know and expect a really good result. You know, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, and yeah, I'm ruining the missed opportunity of having a rod on that spot earlier, but that's carp fishing, that's the nature of the beast. If you don't know the lake well, then you are winging it, and that's exactly what I've been doing. But yeah, I'm quietly confident that I'm going to get another one before I go home, whether it's through the night tonight or making a reaction tomorrow morning. I'm happy that the baits and the rigs are working. It's just a case of if the fish come back within my zone, because it's quite busy and there's not lots of moves on. So yeah, fingers crossed for the night ahead.
Well, the third night has finished much like the other 2. No action. Woke up first thing this morning, still the odd fish cruising around in the weed. The wind's pushing up the other end, which is slightly concerning, but as the sun comes around this morning, I'm anticipating them getting back in that bay where I caught yesterday, or at least hoping they're going to get back in that bay. So I'm going to recast, get the rods all in position. Hopefully there's one more chance before we have to pack up. Now, a lot of the time, working with Corda as I do, and with Mainline, I'm always trying new baits, like the latest ones that come out, and chopping and changing between different baits for different venues. And it's probably not the best course of thing, you know. I've got all the confidence in the world in the guys from Mainline. They're doing the business, handing me the baits, and I've not had one yet that's not worked, but Cell, you know, Cell stood the test of time. It's an absolute classic, and one that I should use more readily, really. You know, I've always got a little bit of it in my freezer, and come to a new lake here at Farriers, and once I've got the spot right, you know, as soon as I've got the spot right, I've caught a fish. So yeah, let's get round there, put a couple of handfuls of these 10 millers out there, a little bit of smart liquid, and I'm sure it will do the do. So we come to the end of the session, and it's with mixed emotions, you know. Saved the blank with a couple of 20s, but you know, I've come this far, you know, to the Cotwolds. I live 2.5 hours away, and I've heard so much about how many big fish are in Farriers, and seen them swimming around throughout the session with their backs out of the water, and to leave without having caught a really nice fish, really big one. yeah, that's the nature of the beast. You don't come to a new lake every time and have your way with it, and yeah, it just inspires me to want to come back and makes me more determined. I honestly thought with the swim choice that we got early on and with the amount of fish about, that we were really on for quite a good session. But there's been a few things gone on, got a few excuses, weren't fishing the right spots at the right times, and things just haven't quite panned out right. And it's not just that the lake isn't fishing. I don't want to use that as an excuse, because there has been people catch the odd fish around us. A couple of guys opposite caught one guy opposite caught a couple on the second night, and the next night, last night, a guy caught a couple in another swim knot off the back of the same weed we're fishing in. It seems like the fish have been coming into this weed during the day and then leaving in the night and being sort of more out in the less weedy areas at what you would call bite times. But yeah, it's a lesson learned. You know, maybe if I had my time again, I might fish those areas, but you know, you live and learn, and when you know nothing, you always fish where the fish are, and it always serves me pretty well generally. So yeah, come to the end of the session, not hauled, but hopefully we'll be back.
Join me at the Carp Societies Farriers Lake, and we're back for a second go. Last time around, 2 20-pounders. It was all right without setting the world on fire. You know, we didn't come here to catch 20s. There's so many 30s and so many 40s. We was always going to have to come back. And a month's gone past, and I've kept in touch a little bit. You know, Brad Greening's one of the regular members up here, and what he's told me before my arrival here sort of ties in with what I saw last time. We're fishing last time over in swim 5, and a lot of the time the fish were on me during the day, and then of an evening, of a night, and the following morning we're out on the other side of the weed. I was fishing amongst the weed. The fish were moving out into the slightly deeper, clearer water, and the people in the surrounding swims were catching fish. And you know, when you're new to a lake, you're sort of trying to take in as much information as possible. And what Brad has said, it sort of ties in with what I thought last time around. So come back for that second go. Had a little walk around this morning. Quite a few people on when we arrived. Couldn't drop straight into a swim, but it's a bank holiday Monday today, and pretty much everyone has gone. There's been 2 or 3 arrived, so I think there's 4 of us on in total, but we're really well spread out. And I've gone in behind Brad. Brad caught a 30-pounder last night. He was in a swim that produced fish when I was here last time, and it's got a much better line lay than the swim that I fished when I was here last time. You can get your line down. It's not going over the surface across the weeds into the spots, and they are really nice spots. Brad's put me onto them. They're not spots that I've found myself. Brad has told me where they were. I've had a lead on top of them, feel around just to check them, you know, because different people have the rod in different positions to feel the lead down. It's all good taking someone's information, but you have to check it, you know, so that you're doing it. You know what you're doing. You can't just chuck blind. So I've had a good feel around. They are banging spots, like he said. Bait-wise, I've gone 6 to 8 spoms of 10mm cell, and one thing that he did say as well, that sort of they've been fished for really hard with bright baits, and he's had much better success with match to hatch style. So that's what I've gone in with. I've got 12mm cell wafters on both rods over, like I say, 6 to 8 spoms. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy. We've planned this session quite meticulously around the moon phase. Like I say, a month's gone past, and it is the full moon in 3 nights' time. So I always like the days running into the full moon, and there's 2 reasons for that. Firstly, I like to come a few days before because it gives you a chance to zone in on where you might need to be. B, it gives you the bait a bit of time in the water, time for the fish to find it, get used to finding it, so they know where it is when it comes to the right night. And thirdly as well, I've also found that the days running into the full moon have been more productive for me, you know, and it could all be absolute hearsay, pie in the sky talk, you know, the moon phase. There's no proof that it does have an effect on the carp, but I've caught so many of my biggest fish on the actual full moon, on the night, that I just think there's too much in it for it to be a coincidence. So yeah, we're here. I'm really happy with the spots. The rods have gone out absolutely beautifully. Yeah, fingers crossed, let's hope one of those big commons pays us a visit.
Well, we're off the mark. First evening, 11 o'clock at night, and a lovely 33.5 common. Great sign for things to come. 2 nights to go, and that full moon, you never know, there could be a big one to come yet.
Things were looking really good at first light when the alarm signalled bite number 2, another dark common, and one that luckily didn't cause too much drama in the weed to potentially disrupt the spot at such a good time of day. The scales told us it was another good fish of 34 pounds and our second 30 of the trip so far. Another absolute belter, deep, dark and heavy, just what you want.
I'll put him down. Liner.
With the fish safely returned, I got the rod back onto the spot which Brad had pointed out, and it was undoubtedly a good one. And in contrast to the first session, the line lay was a million times better here. The key now was not to mess things up, to take my time with baiting up and resist the temptation of allowing spoms to drop away from the spot. I wanted every one on the money.
Well, things could not be going any better really. One last night, about 11 o'clock. One at first light this morning, and then a quick recast, little rebait, 2 spoms, 2 large spoms of 10 mils over the top, and I think it's about 9 o'clock now, another bite. And it's really nice knowing that both spots are producing and that we've got 2 nights to go. You know, we're obviously in the right area, and fingers crossed that they sort of, we're central, you know, there's a really good chance that whether the fish move around the lake, we're always going to get traffic here, you know, with that thick weed opposite. And this is sort of a clearer run through. It just feels like a real natural passing area. Oh, that's a nice dark one. Nice dark fish. Oh. Oh, don't go through that line. Here he comes. Here he comes. That's a nice dark one, that. Oh, don't come off now. Get in there. Is he in? I think he is just about. That is a nice one, a really nice one. Pretty thing. Check that out. Fish number 3, slightly smaller at 25.5, but he is absolutely lovely, nice and dark. And I'm so confident at the moment. Both the spots have done fish now, and it's just a case of recasting really accurately, getting them onto those tiny clear spots, and getting the bait over the top, and I'm certain there'll be more to come yet. I like a monster. Oh,
Use a good bait, get the fundamentals right, like using a sharp hook every time you cast out, and you'll not go far wrong. And right now, it didn't seem as though I could put a foot wrong, with these simple yet meticulous tactics soon producing another bite and another lovely Farriers carp hitting the net. It's easy to unintentionally damage carp when taking them from the water, especially carp as big and as angry as this one. So always check their fins are flat against the body and carry them to the mat in the sling and not just in the net. It really is the safest way. The scales were taken to the mid-30 mark again by another heavy and solid common, dark, old and full of character. I was enjoying every moment of what could be a very special session. Time to repeat the successful tactics and get the kettle on.
well, I was just about to reel in and go back to the van and get some more bait. You know, it's the middle of the day, wasn't expecting anything. It's just ripped off completely out of the blue. Properly stuck in a weed at the moment though. Quite solid. I've pulled as hard as I really want to, don't pull any harder than that and rip the hook out. Just try and relax in the line a little bit, still keeping tension on it because it's a barbless hook, but sort of letting the weed bed relax back, because obviously when I've been pulling, I've pulled it all tight. I'm hoping that as I sort of slacken off, the weed bed sort of relax a little bit and the fish might kick free. There's not a lot happening. Try again. That's solid, man. That's a boat job. There's not else to do, really. I'll pull its head off or rip the hook out. Just push it round, that's it. boy. U-G-L-Y, you ugly. He is what you'd call a character fish, I suppose. Just under 22 pound. I was just about to go back to the van and get some bait, wind in for the afternoon. Out in the middle of nowhere, this one's ripped off. Got jammed in the weed, but fortunately managed to get in the boat and get him out. Let's get him back. Well, we are absolutely turbo having it. Yeah, I wouldn't have bet like 5 fish on the first night. Having just been out in the boat and scared to swim, it's really shallow out there. Now's the time, get back to the car, get some more bait, because I'm certainly going to need it. So, rods are back in position, gone out there really, really nicely, onto the clips, really good drops, and it's gone a bit quiet, I'm not too worried or concerned. It's nice to have a little bit of a break, five odd takes today. It's been, from the moment it's got light, it's just been pretty busy, and especially when you're filming them all and that. But yeah, I think going forward, just everything is aligned. I've just got to be really meticulous, making sure that I get my rigs into the holes and I get my bait over the top. It's easy to let wayward spoms leave bait hung up in the weed, and you could be doing that with a catapult and a throwing stick and whatnot, but being really sort of accurate with that spom, depositing those 10 mils straight over the top, that's the key, getting bait on top of the rigs that are fishing in those holes. If I do that consistently throughout the remaining 2 nights of these sessions, then I think there's a really good chance. It's a bit of a pinch point in the middle of the lake here, and with the far bank being really, really weedy and this side being less weedy, the spots are just natural passing areas, and it just looks absolutely perfect. So yeah, fingers crossed for tonight. Well, talk about proof in the pudding. This is the exact reason we've come to Farriers Fishery. A £40 4-ounce common. I can't believe it. It's a shame you couldn't see it during the fight. It's come just before it's got light, but who cares when you're catching fish like this? Simple tactics, tried and tested baits. The cell has been going in here for a very long time. The fish are almost tuned to it like a natural diet, and just fishing technically well on the spots that Brad showed me and getting that bait over the top, very, very simple. But if you do the basics well, then catching fish like this is very possible. Well, no sooner after getting that one back, same rod as away again, but it's jammed fast in the weed again, really bad. Barbless hooks, it's like I can't slacken off completely and let it free itself. I might have to go back out in the boat. Hopefully this is not a tench. Scaring the swim to death for one of them at bite time. Hopefully it's a £50 common. Oh no, it's a tench. Hero to zero. Right, let's give the swim a little bit of a freshen up, a little bit more bait, fresh recasts, and hopefully we can have a bit more of what we had yesterday morning. Sideways. That's open, it's good, it's good. It doesn't look far enough, that. It looks to me like that's in the wrong clip. I need to check that. I'm sure I just took that out. Why does that look like that? Clip was fine, just being paranoid, but better to be safe than sorry. One more. Well, the old taking the boat out to get that tench hasn't completely killed it. A little chop up with the bait and the recast. It's probably been out there, I don't know, hour and a half. The beauty of this area is you're getting constant traffic, so even if I had scared them in the boat, they'd be back pretty quickly anyway. Another dark common. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's right over here. Any tickets? Oh! Pluck. Oh. That is a good fish. Come on. Oh yeah. Go on, go on, go on. Yes. Get in there. Oh mate, that's another 30, that is. That's another 30. This is ridiculous. It's getting out of hand. Well, we are truly in the midst of a red letter session. This one, 37-12, and yeah, things are just going from strength to strength. The bait's working, the rigs are working, the spots are good, and we've got one night left to go. So, let's see what else comes along.
With the rods back out, I sat down with Miles from the Carp Society to record their podcast, Carp Radio, and it was good to hear a bit more about farriers and the Society before the weather conditions changed and it began to rain. Nevertheless, I was still super confident of another bite. So I set about getting the rods ready for the last night of the session, tying fresh rigs, double and triple checking the sharpness of my hooks before casting the rods back to the spots. Followed up by another helping of bait, 10mm cell, a little lake water and a turbocharged retraction from the Cell Smart liquid.
Well, a very quiet night. Conditions have changed. It's overcast, a little bit more wind on the water, and you'd probably say they're textbook conditions, but it's not really seeming to be doing the do here at the minute. When we arrived, it was flat calm. You know, you could see fish pushing through the weed all over the swim, and we're not seeing that anymore. But I have seen the odd one, you know, the odd one out there. I've had a recast, got both rods out there with fresh hooks on, 2 spoms over each, just in case like the tension cleared me out or whatever else. But yeah, they're back out there, there's still a chance. But if it doesn't happen, you know, let's look at it realistically. You've come here for 3 nights, caught a 40 pounder, caught 4 30s. You know, I'd have took that before I arrived. So I've had a wonderful session, really enjoyed it. Lovely dark black commons. So we're waiting for that final piece, you know, that final piece to send us on our way. But if it doesn't happen, who cares? We've had a lovely time. Well, just starting to doubt that we were going to get one for the road as such. Conditions not looking so good, but a couple of fish sort of bow waving around the spot, and then this one has absolutely ripped off. Makes that last night all the worthwhile for getting in. Keep the pressure on, it's coming through the weed. Oh, that's solid movement. Get in there. Oh, bit of movement there. Yeah, we're gaining. We're gaining. Still weeded. Just going to step back rather than wind down. Yeah, it's not far out now. Just keep him coming. A big ball of weed coming in. What you're about to see is a hand landing. Big old ball of weed, hoping the fish is in the middle of it. Keep coming. Whole lot. And it's in there. It is in there. And about a ton of weed. She's in there. Oh, there's a carp there. There's a hump. Let's have a little look what we got then. Let's have a little look. Let's have a look. Looks like an upper 20 to me, mid to upper 20. It's hard to see, the water's quite murky, but a nice bronze long common. Well, what a way to finish. 34-12 of absolutely classic common. It's absolutely mint, this fish, you know, look at it. You couldn't ask for a better example of a common carp. It's been an amazing time here at Farriers Lake. We've caught 8 fish. Biggest one, 40 pound 4, 5 30s and a couple of 20s, you know, you cannot grumble at that. Amazing sport here, so thank you to the Carp Society for having us here at Farriers Fishery, and all the stuff that you've seen in this video, you know, it's all very simple, you know. Fish where the fish are, find the clear spots, fish technically well with a bait that the fish really, really like, and you too can catch fish like this.